Call the meeting to order of Silver Falls School District School Board. Attendance, all board members are present. And now we'll have flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now we'll have, we'll take care of nominations and election of board chair and vice chair. And so first I'll go over procedure, and before we actually take care of it, I'll open nominations for chairman of the board, and then you can nominate individuals. There does not need to be a second for nominating for these offices. And then there's discussion, and when we're done with nominations and discussion, then I will call for a vote, and it'll be a roll call, and each individual will name the individual they're voting for. And once we have 4 votes for or more for the same person, then we have our chair, and then we'll follow the same procedure for the vice chair. Any questions about the procedure? No. Okay. Then I open up nominations for chairman of the board.
I move to elect Phil Wiesner board chair once again.
Second.
Any other nominations and or discussion?
I think just a comment. You know, I'm definitely in favor of, I think you've done a fantastic job this last year. I think continuity of leadership is important for us for this next year, and I think having you at the lead again, I think would put us in a good position to continue to be successful. So you have my full support.
Thank you.
I guess I should share why, since I did. I think the job is pretty hard. I think it takes a while to learn it. I honestly still don't know everything that you two do, being in those positions. Phil, I think you were instrumental in kind of leading us and turning some stuff around, helped us kind of see some things that needed to be changed. And I just think you've handled yourself really well. I think you sit really well in the middle. You're a former educator. You're retired. I think you have a lot of time that some of us don't. Granted, you're busy. You're a very busy guy, but also outside of that, performance-wise, Phil, you've just done a great job.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Since there's only a candidate, I'll call for a question, and there'll be a yay-nay vote on for whether for Phil Wiesner for chair. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay, and now I'll open up, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. It's an honor. Nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Derek Foxworth.
I'll second that.
Derek Foxworth's been nominated. Any other nominations and or discussion? Well,
I'll just say Derek did a great job as the number 2. He's really good on policy, especially with a lot of the personnel stuff. Just diving into it. That's kind of what you do up there, up in Portland, and you're a great fit for it. So, thank you.
Derek's been great to work with. He does a fantastic job of counterpoint with me when we're in discussions and on things, and I think we complement each other well, and that one of us sees things that the other one doesn't sometimes when we're going through some of these things and trying to get everything right, and we still miss things sometimes, but not for lack of trying. So I appreciate, and he was extremely instrumental in proactive and did a great job concerning superintendent evaluation and being the lead on that.
Phil, I'm great with the decision for him too, but the question is, can people self-nominate? I was just curious.
Yeah, you
as well.
can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that that was an
Are
option.
you looking for a nomination?
No, I'm not. I am not. I was just making sure if people are like, I really would like to do this job.
It sounded
for
like it, I'm just.
I would.
No.
I'm happy with Derek.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no other nominations, call for a question, and we'll all vote on for Derek Foxworth for vice chairperson of the board. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Congratulations, Derek.
Thank you, and thank you for the confidence, and look forward to another year working with our current board members and our new board members. So, thank you.
The consent agenda, my bad, agenda review. So entertain a motion on adopting the agenda as presented.
Move for approval as presented.
Can you specify what you just added? So I don't have to look for it?
We had adjusted 6C, 6, I think it was. I gotta go back, hang on just a second.
6C.
6C6.
Yeah, we
Six.
added the $50,000 fidelity bond amount.
Okay.
It didn't have a price tag. So.
And 6C7 also.
Yep, we
was-
added that because that was reviewed last year as part of our policy adoption.
Thank you.
And 6C8, we added the $1 million that the district is covered
So-
for. So you guys would have more information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Okay, and moving on. Public comment. Okay, if you'd like to speak during the public comment and are attending virtually, use the raise hand feature in Zoom. If you're attending in person, please approach the public comment table located in the front of the board.
Hey, Phil, can I interrupt you real quick? Sorry.
Sure can.
Mr. Chair. We did the agenda review, but we did not approve the consent agenda.
Yes.
So I think,
Oh,
That's what-
you are very much right.
well, it wasn't me, it was your friend Debbie.
Yep. Entertain a motion on the consent agenda. Thank you for that.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you for that. Okay.
Quick comment on that. Really like those hires, Kim.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited about those folks. Yeah.
Okay, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand to be recognized by a board chair. If attending remotely, please raise your hand, feature with Zoom. For the record, please provide your name and relationship to district. Please keep individual remarks to 3 minutes. If speaking as a representative on behalf of a group of 3 or more, comments may be extended to 5 minutes. Second public comment period will occur late in the meeting, and this specific to discussion and action items only. Board will not hear complaints against individual district staff or board members during public comment. Please understand that the board's primary role is to listen to you and likely will not receive an immediate response. Finally, remember we all model the way of our students and ask you to share your thoughts respectfully in accordance with Silver Falls School District Board Decorum Agreement. Anyone here? Anyone online? Okay. Good to go then. Administrative staff reports. Looks like you're up first, Kim.
Yeah, thank you. So you've got in your packet an announcement about some new administrators that we've hired in the district. And so I'll have you turn to that real quick. So Taryn Wold has been moved over to the Robert Frost Elementary building, and she's really excited about that position. And we're really lucky to have her. She's a really dynamic administrator who makes a huge difference for kids. So Taryn will be at Robert Frost next year. We want to welcome Joseph Traeger, and he is going to be an assistant principal at the high school next year, and he also is a really charismatic, energetic leader with a strong love for systems implementation and curriculum adoption, and so he's really excited to get going. So I'm really enjoying both those people in those positions. And then Rachel Ayers is going to be the principal at Scotts Mills Elementary, and what's really great about Rachel in that position is that she has a tremendous love of special education and tremendous knowledge base, and she will be a really huge asset to the SPED teacher in that building. And also, she's just really connected to the district community. All these folks are from around our community, which I really appreciate because it gives them a good knowledge and context of our district and what we bring to the table. And so those are all really exciting hires for us. The great part about Rachel is that she'll be 0.6 principal at Scotts Mills, and she'll be 0.4 SPED. So we're going to meet tomorrow and kind of define what her duties look like. But the great part is that this gives Scotts Mills principal coverage 5 days a week. And so I really enjoy that part of it, and it really gives us more peace of mind when you're talking about safety and security for students. And that was one of, when ODE did their safety and security assessment, that was one of the things they commented on, is that we have small buildings in the district that often don't have a leader present because they're split between buildings. That is a huge concern of theirs. So I'm really excited about that. And then we had a person on the consent agenda tonight that is not on my administrative update, but James Rise is going to be returning to the district, and I haven't even notified the building yet. This is probably a faux pas, but we're just really excited about him coming home. He worked in the district previously, and another really dynamic leader, super energetic, really just an outstanding individual, and we're really excited about having him at Central Howell and Prattam next year. So that's my update for the admin group. And then
Hey,
if
Kim,
you,
sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
no, you're good, Josh.
What's going on with Silvercrest? What are they gonna, do we have an admin up there? Am I
Yeah,
missing?
Therese Gerlitz was
That's right.
placed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
you're okay. That happened like
A lot
in
of
April.
moves.
I know.
I was
yeah.
like, okay.
It is.
That's right.
I'm hoping, I think sometimes you have to find the right fit, right, for
Yeah.
whoever you've got in the mix. And so, trying to figure out what is best for the district and what's best for kids. So you center all those decisions on what is best for our students. And so I hope that these are really great placements for people, and I think it will be a really outstanding team. It's a really outstanding team.
Congratulations on the hires and also all the time of the interview teams for all these different positions and what they go through in screening and everything and filtering out. And it appears like a good group you've got in place.
Yeah, it was really great. We had team members from both schools on the Central Howell and Prattam job interview, and same way with Scotts Mills. So we had employees join us, both classified and licensed, and I think that's really a good opportunity for them to lend voice to how they want their building to be run and what that looks like for them. So that was really an exciting process.
Did you have any parents involved in the process?
I did. I had a parent. Yes, I did. I had two parents actually on the Central Howell Prattam interview. I couldn't snag one for Scotts Mills, but I did for Central Howell and Prattam. So huge thank you to Kelly Strong served for us, and so did Mrs. Craig. So they were both in on in the fun, Becky Craig. So that was a great time. Yeah, it's nice to meet parents and interact with them in that way. Yeah. Any other questions on that?
Yeah, Kim, I mean, so are all the admin positions then filled, pretty much?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
How
it.
about
Yes.
how about the rest of the staffing in general?
Yeah,
Teaching
so
in general.
principals are busy right now, staffing positions, and so, like Therese Gerlitz was in the DO today, interviewing for, I think it was a counseling position. So that's going on all over the district, and, we're getting some pretty high-quality candidates.
Yeah.
I know Taryn was pretty excited about some of the teachers she hired at Central Howell before she left, and so Taryn is still managing some of the hires for us for the buildings that she served and will serve, because we didn't have James in the mix yet. So once he's here, then he can take over those processes. But she's been busy working on those.
Okay, good. It sounds like we'll be fully staffed.
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Yeah, we're working
Great.
on it. Yep. We did have quite a few openings, so it's really nice that we're
Yeah.
getting all those full. Seismic update, you have a photo of the exterior of Silvercrest right now. I was up there poking around the other day. That's a very, very well-managed site. So Brokamp and Jaeger are doing the construction on that project. They are right on schedule. I am happy. I almost hesitate to say it, but that building is supposed to be finished on August 22nd before teachers come in. And for those of you that are new to the board, this is a seismic retrofit from ODE grant, and it is about a $1.7 million project. That includes the contingency. It's actually a little less than that. And you know, they're redoing their complete remodel on the library and the music room, and so it's going to be a really beautiful addition to that campus. And we're really excited about the work they're doing up there. They're doing roofing and some different things right now, siding and roofing, I think. So it's looking pretty good. Any questions on that? And maybe we can, you know, maybe if any of you want to tour that building when it gets closer, I'd be happy to run you up there and take you through. The next thing on my list is a federal funding update. Boy, this is a long document. I'm so sorry. It's literally 4 pages, I think. And this is a document that's going to go out to staff and the community tomorrow. It talks about all the different federal grants and programs that we have in the district. And it is a little bit different than previous years. So normally in the field of education, K-12 in Oregon, we get an update July 1 about, you know, kind of what the final amounts for our title programs are going to be. And if you go down to the table, and I guess I should explain what title programs are. So title programs, if you don't know, are grant programs from the federal government that are designed to help students in high poverty areas, students that have special needs, students that are acquiring English as a second language. So any of those types of high student needs that we have in the district, these programs cover. So Title I is usually used to promote math and reading instruction and to give kids intervention and a more robust program for that. Last year in Title I, we budgeted $558,000 and spent that. We took that down a little bit in our proposed budget for 25-26 because Kim and I were not confident about whether that would be fully funded by the federal government. It actually was fully funded by the federal government, and so the allocation for that is considerably higher, but I don't have the final. So I have the preliminary final. It says final on it, but I don't ever really totally believe it till October. When it comes into the system, so through ODE. So it's showing 679,031. So that one is a positive game.
I have a question.
Yeah, Daniel.
So in your explanation, you were talking about the free lunch program that helped us.
Yeah, I can
obtain that.
explain that. It's kind of.
I had too specific as you explained. I do
Sure.
appreciate you explaining it, but I wanted to know, so how much did that cost to have the free lunch? Was that a separate grant that supported that? And then how efficient was it? How good, like how many kids did we end up feeding?
Oh, we fed a lot of kids. We fed all
Good.
the kids in the district, thousands and thousands of meals. That wasn't no additional cost to the district, so that is another grant-funded program, and it's done with federal dollars. And so to qualify for the community eligibility program, your poverty level had to reach a certain rate. And so traditionally, our poverty level has never qualified for that. But when they reduced the rate, and so we have more qualifications that way, and so we were able to enter the program. There was no cost to the district.
That's great.
I will say what happens when you enter the CEP program is that it's more accurate in capturing all your students of high poverty. And so a lot of times, like if we were doing free and reduced lunches, we have people fill forms out, they have all this paperwork they have to do. This way, everyone just ate for free. But what happens is the federal government has another way to capture it. So they use SNAP benefits. What are the other things, Elise?
Summary BT and
Medicaid, yeah. So I am a little concerned about the Medicaid portion of that, and I'll get into that in a second. I think that captured a higher poverty population, which in turn, Title I is based on your poverty rate. And so that in turn gave us better allocation for Title I. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I can add that we served 30 to 40% more students this last school year than the previous school year.
That's great.
Yeah, we did. Our service was way up. And actually, in the summer, I was going to tell you guys about the summer meals. We've already served 8,142 meals this year, just during the summer.
As of today, we're about 8,700.
8,700, yeah. So we have hundreds of families in the region, and those are all free as well. And Elise has done an amazing job of advertising that and getting the word out in the community. And so we've got lots of kiddos that might have gone hungry in the summer that are really taking advantage of that program.
Sorry, I know we're going on a slight
Detour.
tangent here, but is that breakfast and lunch, those 8,700, or is it just lunch?
It's breakfast and lunch.
Okay.
Yeah,
They get services Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so on Monday, they get Monday lunch, Tuesday, Wednesday breakfast and lunch, and Wednesday breakfast. And then on Wednesday, they get the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on Fridays, they actually get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's breakfast. So they're getting meals for 7 days, breakfast and lunch for 7 days a week.
It's a great program.
Yeah, it is a very cool program. And we hope that the federal government will continue to support that effort to feed hungry kids in our region, because I think it's really important. Title II is designed to improve teacher and administrator effectiveness. My whole budget around like the things I want to do with teachers, we want to do with teachers to help, strengthen their instructional practice, are paid for out of Title II traditionally. And sometimes general fund, and sometimes the student investment account. But that entire allocation of $102,000 is gone from the federal government. So that is where this hurts me the most, because as an instructional leader and a lifelong lover of curriculum and literacy and improving instruction, and like having my own instruction be really high quality when I was a teacher, super important to me. This one bothers me. And it's a huge hit for education across the nation. But I'm just being really frank with you. This one is a problem for us, because I have to find other ways to continue to do that work. And that's been an interesting problem to solve.
So the impact is going to be trying to figure out funding to make sure we continue to meet that need.
Yep.
It's going to be the challenge.
I can use a little bit of the title funding, so if it's math or reading related, I can probably dip into that 679 and use some of that.
Okay.
So that gives me a little bit of cushion, but also that is also if we needed an additional reading instructor, we needed additional support for kids, like if we had a huge group of kindergarten kids and we needed an additional IA for reading, that's also where that would come from. So there's a lot of demands on the Title I account. It's really nice to have Title II just be set aside for PD, but there's no funding in it. Title III is a program for migrant students, and English language learners benefit from Title III funds, as it supports language acquisition and English proficiency for immigrant students and second language learners. This is a smaller amount. It was $24,000 in 24-25, but that also is gone, and so we have absorbed those. This helped pay for some employee instructional aids and some different things. That has been absorbed into the general fund.
I'm sorry, I have another question. Just
Sure, yeah,
first time I've
I'm
gone
all
through
yours.
These different titles. So, out of curiosity, that seems like, and I'm Title III very sympathetic because I'm ESL myself. How many students did that cover? $24,000.
Well, that's not, you're right. I
That's
mean,
like-
we already supplement it in
It's
general
like
fund.
$30 a student?
Yeah, no, it doesn't cover. Yeah, no, it's not nearly enough. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I know it helps. But I'm
Yeah, it helps, but yeah, not sufficient, yeah. Title 4A, so Title 4A is designed to support well-rounded educational opportunities. That shows a preliminary allocation. I can't get anybody to tell me if it's a final allocation or not. It shows differently on ODE's website, and so I'm hoping there's $41,000 in there, but time will tell. That one I can't tell, and I can't get anybody to give me a straight answer on it. Have you heard, Tom, on that one? 4B is gone from the federal budget. That was a program for 21st century schools for after-school education and some different things. That was really devastating to some other districts, but that's not a huge hit for us. Medicaid, I'm very worried about. So when Kim and I were getting information from COSA and OASBO in the early spring, like January, February, we heard that Medicaid was a hot topic at the federal level, and we were concerned about what would happen with Medicaid. And so we normally have a resource from Medicaid of about $350,000. And we decided to cut that almost in half. So we put it down to $195 because we weren't confident what we would get. It's really easy for us to submit reimbursements and get to that $400,000 mark. We do that on a regular basis. But we weren't sure what would happen, if there would be enough funding for it at the federal level, if there would be, we just weren't sure based on that big, beautiful bill, because it mentions Medicaid in there. And so I'm kind of worried about that 195. So Maricela is taking, she's in a cohort right now that is learning how to streamline Medicaid billing, which is really interesting through the ESD. So I'm hoping that she's my mole, so I'm hoping she'll hear more about how to make that better, faster, stronger, and how to make it happen.
Well, the reductions in Medicaid was supposed to be targeted at fraud, so we'll see, but.
It is, but I'm worried about like my own personal experience with processing the COPS grant and how many weeks it has taken them to get back to me on one little question I had, which normally that would have been pretty fast. It took weeks. So that I'm worried about the timeline of it. Like,
That's fair.
we submit something because the federal workforce has been reduced, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to streamline that a little bit. I just don't know if those folks are still there to process those.
Well, and they're probably trying to figure this out too, so.
Yeah,
makes sense.
correct. Yeah, so we'll find out. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to get some of it. And we didn't put the full amount in our budget, which was smart.
Sorry, I have a question on that too.
Yeah.
So is this like in my office where I bill for everything that's done, or is this a per student per rata based on students that are on Medicaid?
Yes,
Or-
it's based on the services they receive. So there are certain things, and I can forward you guys the information on it for what districts can submit for, but there are certain services that we can submit a reimbursement amount for, and they'll cut us a check. Yeah.
If you don't mind sending that to me.
Yeah, sure, I can send it to you
Thank
all
so
if you'd like
I understand
it.
better.
Yeah, it is pretty complicated, and it's relatively new. It's only been around a couple of years, so.
I had the same question, just what the eligible student services were, so just at a high level, I think that'd be just a good
Yeah.
document for us to have and be able to
Yeah,
intelligently
I can ask
speak to.
Maricela what she's billing for and what's being accepted. That probably would be our best indicator. IDEA, that is funding for Students with Disabilities Education Act, and it's designed to support students that are on an IEP and that need special education and related services. This particular fund is up a tiny bit, so it's coming in higher at, our proposal in our budget was $687,200, and it's coming in at $769,320. And so that one's positive 82,000. So that's good. So that, and there's an article about, so the state of Oregon has joined a lawsuit with 23 other states, because what happens with federal funding is appropriated by Congress prior to the budget year. And so these are funds that have already been appropriated to school districts that have been like drawn back kind of in some ways. And so it will be interesting to see what happens with that lawsuit. So there's 23 states in that.
That may not be settled until 28.
Who knows?
knows?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of these things that are in Attorneyville, and who knows how long that will take. Yeah. Any other questions on that large? Tom, you want to add anything to my work? I know you checked it ahead of time, but.
Just from what I'm hearing from other colleagues in other districts, it's just the real feeling of uncertainty and chaos. There are others that are asking questions and they're just getting crickets. It's taking a long time to get clarification.
I know that their budget year doesn't end, it ends in October or begins in
October.
Begins in
Yeah.
October, ends in, okay.
Yeah, they wrap it up in
And-
October.
So will we in fact know on these then, or could it even go past that?
I mean, it says final allocation, but I don't ever believe that until I see it come into my
See a
account.
check.
So, yeah, what happens is they'll populate the site. I could show you, I mean, but you go onto ODE's site and it shows, like, we have all these reports we have to do to get these money, to get this money from the federal grant. And so, like, you know, it'll pop in what we're getting. And so then you're like, okay, there it is. But that's usually not till October.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we start working on it before that, but.
My only advice on this with going with the numbers going forward into next year and possibly the next is continue to assume to have less.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to change, especially with Supreme Court decisions being made going a particular direction. I say urge on caution
Yeah.
as much as we can.
I agree 100%. Any
Me too.
revenues where there's any degree of uncertainty, the more conservative you are, it's so much better to be surprised and actually
Yeah.
get the full amount.
Assume we won't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like those two, I mean, you can see on there, those two fields, Title I, you know, Kim and I came in at 532. That's way below what it actually came in at. And so we were very concerned. We took 5% off based on what we heard. And then same way with IDEA, because we weren't sure, you know, we didn't raise that very much either. Even though our sped population's higher than it used to be. We were conservative on that one too. And so next year when we plan for Title IIA, it will have a 0. Like the ones that they allocated 0 for will be 0 again in our next budget.
So the IDEA,
Yeah.
is that higher because we have more student? Is that flat allocation per student, or did the amount per student go up?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't, no, that one's really complicated.
No.
If Brandon Larson was here, he might be able to tell you
Okay.
why.
I mean,
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Daniel, sorry. That's
No,
not
no,
a very
that's
good,
okay.
that's not a very good answer. I mean, it's not significantly.
it's an honest answer. I like that.
I'm always honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. IDEA was part of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. And then there's another bill that goes with it that's later in the 70s, I think 71. The IDEA and Title I were set by Congress, and so they have congressional approval. They're a little bit different than some other federal grants and funds we get. Like it's difficult to say they're not going to pay us for those two funds. That would be that should be turned around by Congress, not an executive order or a budget thing. That would be congressional action for those two funds, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong a couple times. Anything else on that?
No, I appreciate the overview. It's very, very helpful.
Keeping us up to speed as much as
Yeah.
possible.
So, yeah, I'm trying,
Yeah.
yeah. And I will release that out to the public, because I think that's good information for people to know. And we'll put that we have a newsletter we have an insert that goes in Our Town newspaper that comes out. It'll come out like in August, early September. And so that article will be in there, and so we'll just kind of a general budget update, just
Right. kind
of a general one. That's easy, maybe less complicated than the federal update. The federal update's pretty complicated. So this is, the last thing I have for you tonight is a site assessment review from ODE's safety and security team. And so this was a really interesting, I requested this because I wanted to see kind of where we stood. And having this site information is really important for any type of grant you write for safety. And so we had them come out and they looked, and you've got a full copy of this PowerPoint in your packet. We've been working with them. This has been really interesting work, and they were really instrumental. ODE was. It's the best. This is the best group at ODE that I've ever found. They're the most helpful, the most responsive. Like when we had that swatting incident, they were here. They were supportive. They called me immediately afterwards. Kim, are you okay? How's it going? Like they knew all about it. Like really amazing support. And so they came through all of our buildings and kind of looked to see what they thought we should improve. And it's not all expensive stuff. Some of it's low-hanging, pretty inexpensive, easy stuff. And so they are going to present to our admin team on the 8th. So they're gonna come in and discuss this site assessment review with them so that they kind of know where their own buildings are standing. They have some recommendations. So we are doing a school safety committee that is centralized this year, and that was a request at from PACE and from ODE. And so instead of having it be just per building kind of siloed, we're doing a centralized safety committee in the district office, and we're going to meet monthly. And so we're really excited about that. And we're going to include, you know, local police and fire sometimes. So we'll alternate. Sometimes it'll be just a pure safety meeting, and then sometimes it will be more of a collaborative kind of committee that includes community, first responders. So it's going to be kind of an interesting committee.
So there's pros and cons to a centralized safety committee versus by site. What was PACE's reasoning for requesting that?
State law. It's state law. I mean, they said it's based on state law to have a centralized.
Will you have?
Really?
Yeah.
Will individual
You're
buildings?
supposed to have both, actually.
I was gonna say, will individual buildings still have a safety committee?
They will.
And then
Oh,
there's
okay.
a rep
Yes.
to a district-wide?
Yes, yeah, so
Okay.
each
Yeah.
building.
That makes
so
sense.
That's what I'm
yeah.
used to in my
Yeah, I was getting ready to
career.
go into
Yeah.
that. So
Okay.
each building has their own team member. And for this first year, a lot of those buildings, it might be the building principal to kind of, you know, expedite it a little bit. At some point, you know, we would reach out and see if there are other employees that are interested. There's always people that are interested in safety. And we have building safety protocols now. So they have building safety meetings. They submit their, you know, their notes or their minutes to the district office, and we review those. So it's not that we don't do it, but I think this is a more explicit way to do it.
Right.
This is a better way to do
So
it.
reality, we're doing both then. We're doing that. at
We're
site
doing
as well as-
both. They're gonna do a site, per site meeting, and then that person they'll bring whatever accident reports they have, any other information they have. So for instance, like, on a district level, I kept getting complaints about the darkness of the parking lot over here. And then we had a donor donate all those lights, and I was like, oh, that's so great, because like I had several people say, Kim, that needs to be lit up. That's really dangerous at night. And so, like, you know, you could bring a concern like that, hey, this is burned out, or this is not working right, or, you know, we have a trip hazard on the, you know, I mean, there's a bunch of different things that could come out of that person reporting to the meeting. So the meeting will be not only enhancing our district safety protocols throughout the district, but it'll also have site-specific information that they share during the meeting. Yeah. And I can, when we get the agenda together, Tony and Marissa and I are working on this as a team, so. Marissa's been really helpful. Part of what they looked at were recommendations to assess functional needs planning. So, and we have a new form that we've created for students that have any type of special need during an emergency. So for instance, if you were in a upstairs classroom at the high school and you're in a wheelchair and the elevator's disabled, how do we get those folks down into the other parts of the building? What does that look like? You know, and do we have people trained to do that? So like really like looking at some of the nuts and bolts. So we have a new PEEP form that we've created for that. And so we're working on all these different pieces of this. An incident command system, Derek could tell you all about this. But you know, how do we utilize staff training and awareness of emergency procedures? And how do we identify areas of improvement? Like how do we debrief it? So that was part of what was really impactful during the swatting incident, was that hot wash or that debrief with ODE. We did that with ODE, we did it with Willamette ESD, and then I went and did it with all the law enforcement agencies that reported here that day. So Mount Angel, Jervis, Clackamas County, Marion County, State Police, Silverton PD, Silverton Fire, Legacy Hospital, all those partners were in the building. And talking about like what we could do better, what we saw, what we did great at. Like in my opinion, like when we emptied this building out, it was super organized. Like the actual lockdown part of it, where the kids exited the building, it was fast, it was expeditious, it was good. We got over there to the middle school, and that was a little on the rougher side. So like just really examining those things and really talking about what that looks like, so that when or if we have to do that again, and then starting to practice. So like the district has not practiced reunification drills, and that's something that we have to start doing. Even though it's really complicated and laborious, and the kids are like, why are we doing this, Ms. Callison? But it is an important part of safety. And Josh, do you have a question?
Yeah, so, because we, you know, it was just a weird day for both you and I, because we both
Yes.
happened to just be
Very
here.
weird.
I don't really, I mean, I missed that, I went to that debrief meeting, and I think I missed like the first 15 minutes. So one thing that I noticed is like when the kids were, they let the functional kids out the back, and they didn't really know where to go.
Yes.
And they said they're used to going out to the fields. Is that the first time that we've ever practiced going to the middle school?
Yes.
So that was, okay.
Yeah, so the students are used to mustering out on this side. And so, yeah, the functional kids, the functional skills class did come out through the front door. I'm like, oh my God, don't come out here, because that's where the ICS was. I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys shouldn't come this direction. And so then I'm like, they need to go to the back, like out the back door. And then my state police trooper said, I don't know if that's been cleared. Like, they have to go through a green zone. They can't go through a red zone. So if the hallway and the rooms haven't been cleared, then the kids can't go that direction. And then someone said, yeah, it's been cleared. And so then we redirected them out the back. And once we did that, I just stood there and I said, you know, when this hall emptied out, the far one down, I just kind of guided them out. The police guided them out, and then I was like, you're okay, like, and just shuffled them out the door, go to the middle school, you know, just giving them some reinforcement. But
No,
that
you
was
did a great
really
job. I was just curious, procedure-wise, because it seems like it had to adapt and change, and it feels like it did successfully. But it seems like, listen to this incident command recommendation, sounds like we need to update it to kind of what we did, essentially, for drills
Well, I think
going
it
forward.
depends. So what happens is normally, yes, we would muster out there, and then we would transport kids to our off-site reunification zone. But they moved our reunification zone. And we talked about why they did that, because this is such a giant building. They were like, well, do we have a crime scene in here? And so the question of whether we had a crime scene, there was a door ajar on the roof. There were a couple weird things that made them hesitant about either just releasing us out of lockdown or using our other reunification site. And so that was a police decision, even though now that I know more, that is actually my decision to make. And now that I know more about that, I would be stronger in that situation because I learned something from that. But, you know, I was surrounded by all these really
A lot
tall.
of law enforcement.
Yeah, all these really tall law enforcement. And I really respect those people, right? So when they tell me, Kim, we should just go to middle school, I'm like, oh, all right, well, you know. And that was complicated for us because there were kids there, so all the middle school kids were there. And so now that I know more, like I never would have released the middle school kids from school. I would have just had them stay in their classroom. So I would have left them in a secure. So, I mean, I made a couple of mistakes, but also I didn't know they were gonna send us to the middle school. So, and it was very near release time. I mean, I have a whole narrative on this. I'm on page 5 and I'm not even out of the office yet. Because that was a very stressful thing. That was very complicated. So,
Sorry about that, Kim, I was just curious.
no, you're good. And I really appreciated you being there that day and managing the parents. That was super helpful. They looked at threat and hazard assessments. So, and connecting with the County Emergency Management Office for assistance. So I attend that meeting, the EMAC meeting. It's really interesting. And doing more tabletop exercises with, so ODE's coming in on the 8th to go over this slideshow, and they're gonna do some tabletop exercises with administrators. We use the I Love You Guys standard response protocol. That's a really common protocol. It's really good. We have, they've recommended that we make sure there's updated language and posters in every classroom, and so we're handing those out at the back to school breakfast. We're updating all the evacuation maps. So some of these are like low-hanging fruit. Like, these are not expensive things to print posters and make sure people know all the new language. High risk and high frequency from Marion County. That's not anything really.
Kim, some low-hanging fruit on the ICS. I know there's quite a lot of significant training on the FEMA websites that might be worthwhile for like the building admins, just so everyone, depending on what the event is, that way they're speaking kind of the same language. And again, that's at no cost. So that might be something we can start looking at working in.
Yeah, that would be good. I actually reviewed some of those when I was in Winston. I've been through some of those FEMA trainings. They're really good. Security camera coverage. So That is not a cheap thing to fix. We need better security camera coverage, especially at the high school.
Is that
Wait.
what your COPS grant is trying to cover?
That's what the COPS grant would have covered if I had been able to get Sam to approve me as the lead administrator, not Kim Dow. Yeah, sorry. 2 weeks trying to get him to fix it.
So you're saying that grant's dead?
That's fun until April. We'll write it again. It's all right. It's already written. It's going to be like 2 seconds to put it in next time because I have it all done. Which was very frustrating. It was all done, sitting there ready to copy and paste, and I can't get them to give me access to put it in because it goes sam.gov, then grants.gov, then justgrants.gov. I mean, there's all this system.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and Diamond. Diamond is the overall package of how you get into these systems. And it never would put me in Just Grants. So I never could move. I could never move out of grants.gov because I didn't have the right authorization.
Well, I just really appreciate you doing that and staying on top because it's a huge need, so.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. I was really, my kids were like, ma'am, Mom, that really worked you up. I'm like, yep. So I've been working on it for 3
They
weeks.
can complicate how to make a grilled cheese sandwich, really,
Correct.
really, really well.
We have intercom issues in our gyms and higher volume areas, so a lot of times kids can't hear. So Brett's starting to work on those. Some of those can be fixed by the tech department, and some of them need some work. Like they need some, we're doing a new PA system in the high school gym. Half of that was donated by a donor, and then we took the other $25,000 out of the capital fund. Because that's a huge safety concern in a building this size. We don't have functional blinds in the building, so a lot of our buildings are older. They're just missing some of these parts. We had lack of exterior lighting in parking lots, blocked exit doorways. Like, these are easy things to fix. Door locks not working properly, so we noticed that when we were doing the clear on the high school. There were doors in here that even my key wouldn't open, and I have a Grandmaster. Like, they're just some special key. There's like 5 or 6 doors. Jeff's rekeying those, except it's causing a key issue.
Yeah,
But
didn't we just rekey the whole high school like last year or 2 years
I
ago?
think it's been I remember we had discussions on it. It's
Did
probably
we?
been within
We just
our
did
time on
this.
the board, I think.
yeah, I'm not sure why those weren't part of that
Helen
process.
would know. She would know.
They have an orange dot on them. So if you go out in the hallway right now, if you find a door with an orange, it's got a dot on it.
Yep.
It's not on the same key. Some buildings needed improved exterior perimeter fencing. Doors that were propped open, exterior doors, hard no. So we will go over this with staff too, principals will. And they don't love the principals that split building time. So that's a security concern for ODE.
Did they, like also we have buildings that do that, they talk about, if the principal on site isn't there, like having an acting principal like for the day or that time period, and would that fix it, right? Because we have a budget issue and they're talking about it's a safety issue. If we can mitigate it by just saying, hey, you're gonna have the entire building, like, is there middle ground there? And if-
I think there's middle ground, but a lot of, like that requires a stipend. So what you would do is you would give a teacher, a lead teacher, a stipend. And Tom can attest to this. We reduced the stipends in the district from $600,000 to $300,000 last year. And so, I mean, part of our general fund savings, that ending fund balance that we have, is due to reducing the stipends. So those were some of the ones
Yeah.
that we took out. Some of
That used to be standard practice, particularly in our small buildings. To have a head teacher and they'd take over.
Yeah, it has other complications. I mean, it's not a perfect system. It's better to have a principal in that building, but it's also not feasible budget-wise. Those small buildings are very expensive to run. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have? The middle school has a lot of things. It's lack of camera coverage, accessibility. The old high school building, they're worried about that building because it frequently gets broken into. And so it needs to have the security alarm coverage. You know, it just needs things, better cameras.
Or go away.
Huh?
Or go away.
Yeah, right. yeah, right, yeah. Staff training on standard response procedures, community collaboration, that was actually a strength for us, was our ability to interact with law enforcement. One of the issues at the high school is that the main doors out here created an issue for law enforcement because it's not a secure area because there's too much glass intrusion, like people couldn't see through it. And so they didn't love having the ICS in front of those front doors. Derek could probably tell you why. So they recommended glazing and a bunch of different things.
They could just move the command post and we can keep the glass doors as they
Yeah.
are. That's my 2 cents.
I know, I was like,
Yeah.
and it was an obvious place to have it because it was
Yeah.
kind of like the hub. The CTE building and students going back and forth between that, ODE doesn't love that. That's something that happens in high schools all over the state. So I don't know how to fix
And you
that.
have
I've
more than
looked
one
at it,
building.
I've walked around out there, I'm like, and the kids open the doors for each other, you know, when they're coming and going. And like KJ and I stood there and we just spied on them for a little bit. And several kids come
Probably
through and
on the
open the
rocks.
door. Our kids are so sweet and so nice. Man,
Yeah.
we got good kids who are like, I'll open the door for you. They do it. I mean, every time I come in, somebody opens the door for
We
me.
need, like,
Great kids.
Skybridge.
But that's,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know how that's a tough one to fix. That's just more on the CTE building. What was great about what they found that was really positive was that we had a lot of school pride and respect from students and staff. They thought that was really great. Most classrooms had good evacuation maps, which was good. The cleanliness and well-maintained landscaping, so they thought the buildings were like really clean and the landscape looked great. And knowledgeable leaders at each site, so really great interaction with principals, and they loved participating with or being shown around by Jeff and Brett Milliken. So Brett Milliken has a lot of district knowledge and a lot of tech knowledge, so they took them around the district. And so just their top procedural recommendations is to continue to connect with local fire and law enforcement, invite them to observe drills, and we already do. They didn't know this, but they participate in our drills already. Safety and drill calendar, which we already have. Tabletop exercises. We're going to start doing those this year with administrators. Routine safety spot inspection, so a 30-minute safety assessment. And they're going to talk to administrators about that on the 8th. And safety check-in process for the high school in particular. Cameras are an issue. Signage is an issue. So there needs to be more obvious signage for the offices and traffic stops and visible room numbers added to exterior facing windows. Some protective film in some areas of the high school, better intercom systems, and accessibility. So evacuation aids, PEEP forms, and our alarm in this building really bothered some of the students' ears. So that was hard to watch some of the kids leaving the building with that. Any questions or comments?
Just a secondary one. So this is the site assessments for the safety. I recollect, and I tried to find them today, the building assessments for structural. I know I saw them because they are out, and now I can't find them. Is that
Oh, the
something-
ones I sent you from ODE?
Yeah, could I somehow
Yeah,
get
Bureau
those again?
Veritas. Yeah, I'll send them to you again, Josh.
Because I just know, I want to compare to the old assessments and see how
Yeah.
similar they are.
They show that, I mean, those assessments are pretty telling. They show like 5 or 6 of our buildings that need completely replaced,
Yeah, so.
according to
Nope.
modern standards.
The only comment I have, I know that there's been some recent discussion, kind of nationally, just about the balance of drills, exercises, and inducing trauma. So just when we're putting those drills and tabletops together, that we're just thoughtful about not inducing, we're trying to reduce the impact of trauma as much as we can, just because, you know, I think I've seen some where they go way too far.
Yeah.
And they are way too realistic versus like, okay, we just need to have a good understanding of what we need to do if and when the bad thing happens, but trying to strike that balance. So I know you'll do a great job doing that.
Yeah, we've also been working on the communication side of it so that we have better communication with parents. So we have, Patrick's been working on like a whole, like it's basically like a template for when you have an emergency. So you just go down to whatever your thing is and you copy and paste, you fill in a couple details, it's out in like 2 seconds. Instead of having to call comms or call Patrick or call me or call Tony, you have this, all principals will have it readily at their fingertips. We're also working on an emergency operation procedure manual for the district. So those are things that are in the works. And you have a sample copy of that from ODE. Any other questions? This will be an ongoing topic.
Yeah.
Okay, my allergies are getting the best of me, I think. Yeah.
Okay, Tom, you're up with financial report.
Good evening, board members. Okay, so I just have a couple minutes. I want to give a finance update, and then I kind of want to talk about reserves and stuff. So Daniel's already put up the slide, but we'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But as a kind of financial report or a monthly report, July is a really awkward month. We're still cleaning up last year, and the new year really hasn't started. So Kim's already given an update kind of on any change, which is on the federal side of stuff.
Right.
There's no other news in terms of FY26, and we haven't even completed a month yet. So really what a financial report in July is to see if there's any difference from the last report last month. And as we close all our purchase orders, as we kind of clean up everything and clean up all our grants and get everything signed and dotted, et cetera, we see where the numbers fall. So there are a couple things to note, though. There's really just a couple of changes. One is our projection on expenditures has gotten more rosy from a month ago. So we're now projecting that for the general fund, that's $609,000 less. And this comes about from, again, closing all those purchase orders, cleaning out all your encumbrances from the budget, et cetera. Revenues are just about the same, maybe about $15,000 less than what we were projecting last year. So bottom line is, last month, we were projecting end-of-year fund balance of about 2.36 million for the general fund. It's now looking like 2.95, just under 3, which is really great news.
Yeah.
And so there's not much change on those 2 pages. I did want to mention something. On page 3 of that financial report, I've shared a template of a mock-up of kind of how I always like to do a budget report, at least like a cover sheet or a summary. And it's kind of 2 ways of looking at it in 2 different dimensions. The top part is kind of how you appropriate, which is by function. You see instruction, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom is by object, and these are kind of the common expenditure categories, such as wages, benefits, services that are purchased, M&S, et cetera, materials and supplies. So it's good to kind of show both views. And it's also kind of cut in half in terms of like the left half and the right half. The left half, and you can report this each month, is kind of your year to date. And it shows you how the expenditures kind of accumulate throughout the year. And then you can compare it to 1 year ago at the same period of time, which kind of helps answer the question, are you burning your expenditures at a higher rate than last year? You got to compare it to something. Mm-hmm. And kind of also on the same on the right. It kind of gives you a projection based on your current burn and influence from last year, where things are going to end up. So you constantly see both views, the past and the future, kind of a one thing. So one thing we could do is kind of make this a cover sheet, and then you can have the detail behind it for more information this next year.
I appreciate this format. Are we to expect the full list of accounts every meeting then also? So if we want to look more into it, is that complicated for you?
It is work. We could do it quarterly.
Quarterly?
Yeah, that might be one option. And that you might want to, I have a slide when I do my reserves, and I'll show you one of the reasons why you might want to wait, because, for example, the first 2 months of the year, not much is happening.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a peculiarity of our school district in terms of how expenditures and revenues work. But I would just hold that thought for right now.
Yeah.
I appreciate the percentages. That's really,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you something to tie it to.
Exactly.
I think, which is important.
Real quick, Tom, so going forward, or we expect the format we've been getting
Correct.
with just this percentage sheet on top as well?
Yes.
And that's not too much extra work for you that way?
No, I think we'll continue with both and kind of see how it works and continue to get feedback.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then I guess my last question would be, because it was, as I've gotten better at looking at this stuff, by nowhere means an expert, I found that July was confusing. When do we actually like tie off the books for 24, 25?
By the end of August,
Okay.
we have a really clear view.
Because at one point you got the rollover accounts,
Yeah.
like for your stuff that hasn't been paid, or, you know, so by the end of August, okay.
Yeah, we're well more than halfway now. And,
Okay.
just some other things that we cleaned up, and then we're ready to pass it over, all the files, to the auditors.
Yeah, so August is like when it is tied up basically, and Tom will know kind of what our ending fund balance was for the year, like an actual amount, but you have to wait till the auditor goes through all the stuff to make sure we didn't miss something, so you have to wait a little bit. We're always working in 3 years, super fun.
I guess I got one thing to summarize, so I'm trying to wrap my head around this. We were, before the tan, minus 2.5, where were we?
No.
Worse.
So-
It was 3.8 if I remember.
So we
Yeah.
were negative
Yeah,
3.8 essentially, that's what we went for.
Yep.
And then we, on top of that, we almost hit 3. So we figured out a way to pay off the tan and give also another almost 3 mil in reserves.
Yeah, plus we paid off the bad debt from the
The
previous year,
debts
so
that
we
have
paid
been
off
accumulated from other
$600,000.
accounts.
That is pretty impressive, at great expense of our educators who
Yeah, huge cost.
bared that burden. No, I'm just still wrapping my head around that, like,
There's some factors in why that happened. I mean, I see things when I'm looking, like, you know, like I just shared with you that the stipends were half of what they were previously. And so, like, you know, we asked all teachers to give us a time card to get it approved in advance. So it used to be we'd have time cards just kind of come in, and those are kind of an unknown. And so we had an amount budgeted for those, and we stuck to the budget. So we said, you know, if you're gonna work outside of your contract, we need to know what those hours are, and they need to be approved ahead of time. We withdrew all the P cards back, or all the BMO cards back into the safe and destroyed them. So we had 65 cards out, I think.
Yeah.
It's at least 65.
Or more.
And now we only have cards to just, like, there's one per building, there's one in athletics. You know, I mean, it's a limited amount of cards that are out. And we required everyone to do a requisition and a purchase order. And so there's areas of the budget that were impacted greatly by that's an unknown when you start. We also had a higher beginning fund balance last year than we anticipated. So we ended up with 1.6 instead of 1.1 or whatever we thought it was. So, I mean, I think there's some factors, so, but it was a very carefully orchestrated plan that will have to be followed again, just like it was.
So we're not where we need to be. We need to continue.
Yeah, we'd be better to be around $5 million, and Tom will talk
Yep.
about the reserves, but where we're at is triple what we thought we'd be at, so.
So we went through this last year, and, you know, I'd always told people that, well, once we get back on, when the money comes from the state this year, we'll be able to add a lot more things back, but then the state's monies was reduced, so
It wasn't necessarily the state. The reason we weren't able to add anything back in was because of the PERS hit.
right, I mean, they
Yeah.
give it to us, but they take it right back.
Yeah, right.
Declining enrollment.
So we went through what everyone else in the state is going through now.
Correct, yeah, we were just a little above.
And I'm not saying that's a silver lining, it's just the fact that we would have had to go through this sooner or later. And I just, you know, I remember Kim said something about a lot of the districts were asking how we did that, how you guys did that.
But you could have managed this differently.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
No. I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm just saying that
Sorry.
this was coming, you know, this was
Yeah.
coming one way or another.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 years in the making. So when you look at the ending
Yes.
fund balance for, like 22, 23, it's like $700,000, and there's another one that's like $1.1 million, and then, I mean,
Yeah.
I could go into my slideshow and look to tell you exactly. I know one is $700,000 because that was what came in from the emergency funds from the federal government. So
Right.
you basically had a zero balance. If you hadn't had ESSER funds, you had a goose egg.
Yeah.
And so like, this should have been dealt with in like 21.
Yes, no, no,
2021, like it was kicked down the road several years because it wasn't, I mean, we just hired people when we shouldn't have.
Yes.
So when I say we gotta right size our staff, this is what I'm talking about, is like, when if I show you enrollment, and we don't have enrollment till September, till Heidi goes through it. And, you know, I'm anticipating that we'll have a decrease again because we have less kindergarten kids, but we are supplementing the enrollment a little bit with that hybrid program. So there's 40 some kids in the hybrid program. But like, when you look at that, your staffing has to match that amount, because your staffing is 80 to 85% of your budget.
80% of your budget is people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's people. And so if your people are off,
Oh, it's everything, yeah.
it's everything. It's that
Yeah.
big alligator gap we talked about.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
no, I agree. It was just.
Well,
it was-
imagine if we'd still had the cap, hadn't closed it, and then the hit we're taking on PERS for this upcoming year that we are
With
on top
every
of.
cuts.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to make it, yeah.
We'd have
Right.
made a $4 million loan, it would have been,
I think, you know, Kim, just since we're on the subject, I think it's just, I'm gonna give you my 2 cents on this. The only way I can see this being sustainable is we create an environment where these teachers feel loved and appreciated. But I don't think we're really gonna be able to go back to the old ways of having this amount of people. So like, and I'm not saying they don't feel loved and appreciated. I'm saying if these teachers, these educators, I'm just gonna make this assumption that the amount of staff we ever had is never gonna happen again, which means we have to learn new ways or a different way to do things. And the teachers already, so a lot of them are saying, I've got too many. I think Butte Creek next year's got 36 kindergarten kids in one class.
No, they don't.
3rd grade,
There's a large 6th grade class at Butte Creek.
so I'm like, okay, how do we do this? I know the raises are gonna come up again, because they gave us a 1 year, and we're gonna have to figure that out. That's probably gonna come out
Yeah.
of our reserves. But how do we make it where the teachers wanna be here, understand, love kids, all these things, with knowing that we're probably never gonna go back to the level of assistance we had before? It's just my thought process.
Well, we've had this level of staffing though before, and I think I mean, when you look at like 2011 and 2012, we had this many kids and this many staff members.
Yep.
So they have done this work before. When you look at our classroom sizes, they're not huge or enormous. They're not out of the ordinary. Like, there might be a little blip, and we had a blip at Butte Creek last year that we fixed. We hired a teacher when it was really hard to do. And so I think you have to look at it from a strengths mindset. This is a strengths-based thing. The teachers in Silver Falls, this is a great place to teach. We have great kids, we have a great community, we have supportive PTAs, we have dynamic, top-level administrators in this system who will support you all the way. And while it may never be like it was, it might be better than it was.
I love
There's no
that.
telling,
Yep.
really.
I
So
love
I
that.
think that looking at it from a strengths mindset, strengths-based, and, you know, you may have to do things a little bit differently, but we're here to support you. And I want our teachers to have a great experience. Like, when we talk about union negotiations and all those different things, I love teachers. I love teaching. I'd rather teach than sit here. Sorry, I love teaching. I like doing this too, I should say. And I think I have pretty good at it. But I love teaching, and I remember what it was like to be a teacher. So when I sit in a teacher's classroom and I watch someone struggle, or I watch someone hit it out of the park, you know, that's a great thing to either be able to support that person and make them grow, or to give them the kudos and the love that they deserve. So getting into classrooms is my favorite thing. So I think that we can be whatever we want to be, and we don't have to be what we were in the past. And change isn't scary when you wrap it around the love and the student-centered focus that we have.
That's awesome, Kim.
very well said.
Yep.
And, you know, just to even simplify it more, it's celebrating the wins and not focusing on what we don't have, but what we do have.
Right.
And how we can can use it. And, you know, it's kind of like all of us as we mature through life. It's pretty easy for that want list to creep into the need list. You know, I mean, we all have things now that go back 20 years ago. They were a want. Now it's a need.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we get in that kind of traps too.
Great
I mean,
point.
you could sit here and talk for 10 minutes about like all the things that the kids did last year in the district. Like fourth in the state choir competition. We went
Oh, yeah, lots of
almost
things.
all the way in football, you know, quarterfinals, volleyball playoffs. Like I could just sit here and go, I could go on and on and on for 10 minutes about all the
No.
FFA accolades.
It's a
and,
good place. It's
you
a
know,
good place.
I mean, it's a high producing group of kids that,
And I want to share with you, being a newbie, one of the things you have really big ears and radar as you pick up what is the culture that you're being in the atmosphere you're starting. So from the financial staff and with all the leadership, my impression is there is an awareness that the future is won in the details. And going through each list of contract that's everywhere and finding out we don't need this anymore, and that's 5,000, we don't need this anymore, it's 25,000. Things change, and articulating that. The need that you had 3 or 4 years ago for something maybe isn't the same this year. So that constant fresh eyes with stuff, it's kind of like that feeling I get from my staff, that the future's won in kind of dollars and cents, not necessarily from a big windfall of multiple millions of dollars. And that habit of managing the dollars that way is going to be a primary strength, I think, in terms of fiscal management.
I have a couple of questions, if I may. So I read somewhere in some of the paperwork I was given to start off with that there was an evaluation of future population and enrollment in
yes,
the
they
district.
yes, they are coming to present at a board meeting. Do you remember which one, Debbie? I think it's in September. It was done by Flow Analytics, and they're going to come talk about
That
it.
will be very interesting
Yeah.
and help us in a lot of ways. Then I have a couple of questions on accounts here, because I'm trying to understand what it entails. So in 1920, donations from private sources, what does that include? Like, is it all donation to anywhere in the school district, including sports, music programs, whatever, or is that specific donation? So it's on page, the one thing I don't like about my thing is it doesn't page 1 of 3.
It is a very small font.
It is, well, it was not big, but I was kind of, that's why I was surprised, because I know, but I assume it doesn't include a lot of the stuff. So like the fundraisers that the different groups and organizations do, that's probably more in the sports budget or in the this or that.
Yeah, we do have a fund set aside for that. I don't know the details
Okay.
of. I just like here it says.
Which line's it on, Tom?
It's 1920, is that
Yeah,
what?
1920 under resource, under
Yeah.
revenue.
I think we have like 5,000 a year.
It's
to
page
pay
1 of
donations
3.
from private sources. Might be
It
smaller.
says 20,000, I think, or something like that, yeah.
I mean, now we have a donor that
Yeah.
gives more than that every year.
Well,
So.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
like, 2 weeks ago, whenever our meeting was, 2 weeks ago, we had a $95,000
Right.
donation.
Yeah.
No,
Would that
that's-
show up in there, or does that go
That-
somewhere else?
No, that's not where that goes. And this would be a great little board work session to go over the numbers and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and just a quick dive over some of
Yeah,
the basics of how things are broken out. I'd be happy to do that.
especially for new people like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of like that stuff, and so,
Budget camp, we used to call it. when
yeah,
you-
Yeah.
budget
You're a
camp.
new board member
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
go over stuff.
Budget camp would be fun.
Yeah.
I don't have that prepared tonight.
No,
My
that's all right.
apologies.
I just, so if we propose a budget camp, for those of us that are interested in that, I would like to.
That would be great, and I would love to
And
be part of
so-
that.
So, I think, let me see here. Yeah, the rest were all budget camp questions, so
Okay,
I'll hold on to those until,
Okay, and
until budget camp
financial
starts.
reserves, you were gonna talk
Yes.
about, Tom?
so Daniel, if we go to the next slide, I just want to take like 10 minutes and talk about reserves. And this is not an evening where we decide what reserves are or have, it's more just me kind of sharing some general thoughts, which will be really good for anybody new kind of to the topic. So kind of what are reserves? Under Oregon budget law, reserves refers to any fund set aside for a specific purpose. Most of the time it's for financial cushion. One of the areas sometimes of confusion is, are reserves required? No. Now, GFOA, Government Finance Officer Association, best practice is that you always have a budget for reserves. That's kind of the given that anybody would do that. But there's nothing actually in Oregon budget law that says you must. It says you may. You may budget for reserves, you may budget for contingency, you may budget for ending fund balance. Reserves are considered a component of responsible financial management for a couple reasons. Number one, they increase financial stability by smoothing out revenue or expenditure fluctuations, especially during something that happens, unexpectedly mid-year. Some bad news, a vendor that has to double their costs, et cetera, et cetera. Reserves help manage risk. They lessen the impacts from anything unexpected, natural disasters, emergencies. They ensure operations or services are maintained that year. Reserves promote long-term planning. Both auditors and bond rating agencies want to see reserves and want to see reserves that are planned. So there's two kind of main forms of reserves in local government, municipalities, districts, and that is general contingency and then budgeting for unappropriated ending fund balance. So the next slide is kind of the personification of contingency, wearing lots of hats. So under budget law, there can only be one general contingency line. The amount budgeted for contingency should be reasonable. It should be a reasonable estimate of what are some of the potential costs that could occur in that year. It's not a savings account that you can just stash money in. It should represent kind of some risks, some things that are unknown at the time you do your budget. Keep in mind when we do the budget cycle, typically the budget office has all the numbers kind of done by November or December. Then it goes to the board, March, April, it's passed and everything. The budget starts July 1, but even that summer, things could have changed from what was assumed way back in the fall. So things are kind of constantly in motion and numbers are going to be off. So contingency is really good at having that account set up where you can pay for things that are unexpected that you didn't really know at the time you made the budget. You can't spend directly from contingency. You can only You can't spend directly from contingency. You have to have it board approved to spend, and then you transfer it into the item which you spend it from. That is the category. So I want to mention that too. On average, most public Oregon entities budget anywhere from 1 to 10% for general contingency. So let me do my pointer. So works great. So contingency is very different than unappropriated ending fund balance. That's really like putting the money in the safe. That's where you set it aside. It means it's not going to be spent. Why is it called unappropriated? Because only appropriated parts of the budget can actually be spent. You need like a major disaster. I think the original language was like a public uprising or natural disaster in Oregon budget law. That was the kind of language they used for something that, where you would have then the authority, I think, as a board to go ahead and approve moving a supplemental budget to then be able to spend.
A number of years ago, we had one of these at Eugene Field where the boiler went out, really expensive, and
you had to utilize.
That was the only place we had money.
Yeah, you had to utilize where you had that reserve stored. Yeah. But really, I think philosophically, the main reason for why a district would budget for unappropriated ending fund balance is to ensure cash flow from one year to the next. You want to ensure you start the next year with the amount of resources that you need. And that is different for every single general fund. That is different for every single district. And the way to kind of see what might be needed is to kind of get to know your general fund. And our general fund is going to be different than another school district's. And school districts are going to be different than a city or county or fire district, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought we'd take a look at our general fund tonight. So here's other general funds up here really quick. It's kind of hard to see. But on the bottom left, here's a local government. And this is where green is revenue, red is expenses. Keep it really simple. Bottom left is local government revenue, where you get the revenue at the beginning of the year. So maybe you have grants where it's all in advance, federal grants, state grants, you get the money right up front. That's really nice, actually, to have all your funds right at the beginning. At the top, I think I based this on TVF&R, but it's where your only revenue is property taxes. So basically you're floating with fund balance all your expenses until November. Then you're getting your income, you're getting your revenue, and then you got to make that last through the end of the year. And the bottom right would be a theoretical public entity where they have reimbursement grants. So you really don't get your monies until the very end of the year. So I'm going to look at FY '23. I'm going to just pull an actual year. So here's Silver Falls School District for 22-23. And this is kind of the shape of our expenditures, which is pretty much the shape that we see every year in general. What's interesting is how low the expenditures are your first 2 months. You don't have a lot of people working yet. You don't have a lot of personnel expenses yet. And actually, September through May are all about the same amount. You have a little bit of a peak up in October. That's because some people leave. They decide this isn't for them. Some other expenses kind of hit in October, but mostly it's kind of flat September. What does this pointer work? Let's see. Oh, oops. I just had to use a pointer once. There, yeah, from there to there. Okay, I used a pointer. That was pretty fun. Those are all pretty much the same. And then what happens is in June, you have all of those payments. You have the June payment, the July payment, the August payment for personnel expenses, which ends the year, and they get that at the end of the year. And so you have a big spike there. That's very unique to school districts. So that's kind of what our expenditure, you see it's kind of like a trend line. It's kind of like you're ramped up.
Can you explain to me, so our fiscal year ends in
June 30th.
Okay,
Begins on July 1.
but we still then carry the payment. So in June, we pay everybody in June, so to finish the year, so we can be done on June 31st, and all the expenditure has been done as far as the personnel goes?
As people on those particular contracts.
Okay,
Yeah, they get multiple checks in June.
okay.
Yeah.
But don't some people get individual checks if they opt to? If they don't want to get one lump sum?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd
I
have
think
to ask
It used to be
payroll.
that way.
Yeah.
You could like choose to not and just it helps them budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you still actualize these expenses in June of the previous year?
Correct.
Even though you may give them the check later?
It's a June expense.
It's like a allowance with your children.
You don't have the expenses in the first couple months,
Yeah.
but you have them at the end.
Yeah.
It's per how the contract
Yeah.
works, especially K through 12. Community colleges don't
Yeah.
have this anomaly, really. Here's your revenue trend. So this district is, like all other school districts, really lucky. We get 2 payments from the state for the state the SSF fund right at the beginning. So July, we start off really good. So right away, you can see that the beginning of the year is going to be good. If our expenses are low, and we're going to start off the year with a nice surge of revenue, and then it kind of evens out, and then you get your property taxes in November, and it's all kind of flat. You have some months where you get a little more, revenue coming in from other things, and it kind of blends together. But that's kind of the shape. You have that peak in the beginning, peak in November. If you put them together, it kind of looks like that. My daughter thinks this looks like an X-wing from Star Wars. I don't quite see the resemblance, but there is kind of like 2 wings on each side. They're opposite. The first one's got the revenue on the top. The ending's got the expenditures on the top.
Love where it heads at.
Yeah.
Great kid.
Should have drawn the
Not sure how well balanced this airplane is.
No, it won't do. But now let's pretend you start the year at 0. So what is the net? Now, again, we're using FY 22-23, so this is the peculiarities of this particular year. But if you did the net, what your balance would be from the combination of this every month, you would see the first 3 months you have pretty good resources in terms of a fund balance. October is a little low, but then you have the surge right in November. And then you pretty much have expenditures above revenues the rest of the year. So it just keeps going down, 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 down. It feels really good though, November and December, in terms of the books. And in this particular year, we actually ended in the negative overall. And it was also, like we were talking about, a challenging year because I think in this year we budgeted 2.5 million is what we assumed to be the beginning fund balance, and the actual was only 2. So if you started with only 2 and then you ended, I think, with a negative 1.4, you've really brought it down to a really minimal level. So our general fund really behaves like 2 people. It's got a split personality. In the first half, expenditures are above costs, and then the second half, it's the opposite. Costs are above expenditures. So in conclusion, there's a range of approaches. You should base it kind of on the general fund and historical challenges and needs. District policies vary differently. We have they're all over the place. Some school districts have 4 to 5%, some have 10%, some have a range that allow some flexibility. Some address both fund balance, unappropriated ending fund balance, and contingency. So for example, Newburgh sets aside, I think they have a policy, 2% goes to contingency as a general contingency, and 5% goes towards unappropriated fund balance. So they kind of address both, which is nice. There's probably a lot of reasons to have both flexibility and to address both ending fund balance and contingency. And we'll have more discussions on this, but that's kind of just a general overview, especially if you're new to how reserves work.
So I heard you say that right now we do not have a policy on that, right?
We do have a
We do,
policy,
okay.
and it, I believe, directs the superintendent to work so that the end of the year fund balance target is 10% of all
10%.
funds. So number one, it doesn't really talk about the general fund, which it probably should, because the reserves are usually tied to your main operating fund. And though it says 10%, it's, to me at least, it's, what does that really mean in terms of the language, in terms of directing them for that as a target? And so maybe at a future point, we can compare language from other districts and kind of look at how things differ, for example.
Because ultimately, we should have a point where we decide that that's enough, and then we change the focus to something else.
And it's important to note that OWASPO, the Oregon Association of School Business Officers,
Yes.
they recommend a range of 3 to 8%. Now that's because school districts typically have revenues in the beginning, so that's particular to a school district. You don't have the challenges of the fire district where you have no revenue until November.
I can tell you one time was 15%. And district was very healthy at that time. We got into some hard times. We lowered it 10%. And it was good it was at 10% because I remember I was working in Washington County, and I remember some of my workmates were had some kids at Sunset High School, and they were having classes in like a college situation where you have 50 to 100 kids in a room doing lectures, and we were able to get by because we had that 10% to live off of until things got better.
I should, just for clarification for the new board, because I think it was the last thing we did before you guys came on, is we did suspend our policy for one more year because we weren't going to be in compliance with it. So, and then we were going to talk.
Well, we've asked
Yeah.
Tony to
Yeah.
bring that to policy
Yeah.
review
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
changing it.
And I would also, your ending fund balance, a positive, your higher your ending fund balance, historical, you'll get a better bond rate for your school bonds.
Yep.
They look at that, so it matters. It matters.
Yeah, you never want to budget so that you're at zero. You
Right.
want those reserves there.
Well, yeah.
It looks like you're planning appropriately and you have financial strength.
Yeah.
I will note one other thing, is that just having the policy itself is only part of the battle. I think the other half is you really got to budget accurately.
Yeah.
And you have to budget strategically. You have to be kind of conservative on your revenues, and you have to kind of be a little bit liberal in some of your expenditures. If you think expenditure is going to be between 100 and 200, we'll put 200. Be surprised that it's less. And then the opposite for revenues. And I think when you do that in general, that creates another kind of cushion, because usually those things
Yeah.
play out a little bit in your favor.
We had a few years there, a couple of years ago, where it was just the opposite. And that's part of what got it where it was.
Yeah.
Where the revenue was being estimated high and the expenses were being estimated low, and we saw what happened with
That
that.
exacerbates it,
Yeah.
kind of multiplies.
Well, when we budget for whatever our teacher cost is gonna be, they vary depending on where they come in on the scale when you hire them. Well, in my mind, I just go to the far right, the maximum
Yeah.
on the scale, and that's what I think that teacher's gonna cost.
Yeah.
No matter whether they are a brand-new teacher or a veteran, in my mind, when I budget the high end, because that's what you should be prepared to pay.
Right.
And if you end up hiring a teacher that costs less, then you're just money ahead, and it just goes into the ending fund balance. If you're always relying, if you do the median or the middle, that's a bad idea.
Well, and you begin, it subliminally at least, it can end up influencing your hiring too, if you're not thinking the high number.
Yeah.
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 We need to,
Yeah, I never base my hiring
Yeah,
on what that
no.
person will cost.
Yep,
That's not a
that's
factor
good.
for me.
So when these contingency funds? Are these like more specific? Would they have like a specific?
No, they're just general contingency.
Okay.
So it's for whatever's expected. You could be thinking, you might hear there's a classification of employees that might be looked at in terms of market, but you don't know what that is. But part of the funds could be set aside for an adjustment there. That could be mid-year. It could be utilities suddenly go up 15%. It could be something that's broken that you need to fix. Yeah, and so you would look historically for what kind of has happened as a guide. You wouldn't just
Right.
out of a hat say, let's put 10 million, and you kind of look at logically what a percent.
Right.
It's usually a couple percent.
Right. The reason I ask is if there was the more, and maybe you just can't, but the ending fund balance, the reserves, just it kind of in advocates' mind for whatever they want, more staffing, more wages, a new anything, it gets treated like
Savings account.
like the coffee can with all the extra money. It's just extra money. But if this is the family's vacation fund, and you want this, well, should we take it from this fund or that fund? Which, is it the new roof? Is it the, if there was for someone to say, I want this, we can respond like, which one of these should we cut?
Right.
Instead of just having it be this pile of extra money.
Which is why I think it's important to have
Yeah.
both, because one can be spent, but you
Yeah.
want the conversation to be not obviously what you want, but something broken. I have to have this or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's more discussion to it, but those things will occur. It's very tough that the only mechanism to approve it is to reduce something else.
Yeah, right, and yeah, so procedures and mechanisms that prompt a further discussion
Right.
is
And
what
again,
we want.
emphasizing contingency can only be approved by the board, and then we
Yeah.
put it into the accounting line.
Okay.
So just one last question on those. Those are protected from state sweeping, right? Because we're a school district? Or are they still subject? So when I was at a state agency with the chiropractic board, we always had to watch our reserves because if we went too high, the state would come in.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
Think about-
there's
they
no
don't do-
one-to-one.
They don't do that.
Okay.
They can do a mid-year, the one thing they will do is that if they are not confident in the economy and like, they can adjust the state school fund mid-year. Well, you don't want them to do that. I've
Well,
seen-
no, but that's that's the whole school
Yeah,
in the
that would be
state.
everybody,
They
yeah.
can't come in and say, well, you guys
Uh-uh.
have a better reserve.
No,
We're picking
Once
half of
we
it
have
up
it,
or all
it's
of it.
ours.
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
I don't believe that's legal for us.
The one way it's also misinterpreted often is there's something you need in 3 years. Well, let's build up our contingency for that. That's kind of not what it's for. It's for a 1 year by 1 year unknown.
Right.
If you
Okay.
have a known thing that you need in a couple of years, and it's 5 million, then create a fund as a reserve to
Right,
build
Yeah.
up the
reserve
fund.
fund
Capital
specific for
reserve
that.
fund and
Yes.
PERS
Okay.
reserve, which is what we do.
That's what Oregon budget law wants to see.
Yeah.
I think that's part of planning.
Contingency is for the unexpected.
Right.
Okay,
And
for
that's-
that.
That's needs to be remembered, because sometimes people, when they're budgeting, they get to thinking, they're actually thinking, well, if we get that in January, we could always take it out of contingency. Well, you're actually planning on it
Yeah.
then, so you should budget for it.
That's a roof, and that's in 2 years, and we'll set aside the
Yeah,
funds now.
but yeah, suddenly we get a downpour in here in January, and we've got to spend, $500,000, somebody come in and get it fixed, then that's.
There was no way to
where-
anticipate that.
That's where it kicks in.
Good point.
Tom, I appreciate the overview. What will next steps look like?
I would recommend just continued conversations. I'll look at maybe what has been done in other districts and show you a comparison, maybe something more informal or something, and we'll just kind of let the conversation continue. There's no rush. I mean, I don't think we have to make a decision on a revised policy anytime soon. Just, I would recommend it be done this fiscal year before probably the next budget is adopted.
Thank you.
Well, I'm looking forward to budget game.
Okay.
Budget camp, yes, we can talk about that.
Okay.
Might have budget camp.
Move on to nursing. I assume Brandon's not here unless he's going to be.
He's supposed to be online.
He's going to be online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Daniel, can you see if Brandon's online for us?
I don't think that's it.
Not quite.
Hi, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Brandon.
Yep. We can see you and
Hi.
hear you.
So I'm Brandon Larson, Director of Special Services, and I'm here to talk about the nursing RFP and our nursing contract for the 25-26 school year. So about this time last year, we had a discussion about kind of two primary areas. The one was a reduction in the nursing budget and the nursing contract, and what nursing services would look like for the 24-25 school year. And then the other piece of that was the decision was made for us to go through the RFP process for the nursing contract for next year. And so we put the contract out for bid, and I had actually a lot more interest than I thought we were going to get, which is great. A number of agencies reached out and just had some questions and were wondering about the contract, but we ended up receiving 4 bids. One of them was from Legacy in Silverton, who we've worked with who we've contracted with for nursing services as far back as anyone remembers, and then 3 staffing agencies as well. And the RFP was built based on the reduced model of nursing services that we had for this school year. Which was roughly 3 to 4 nursing staff who are there for about 17 hours a day during student contact hours, and then some additional work hours in August before students return. So myself, Elise Hansen, Tony Rosiles, Kim Kelson, and Phil Wiesner reviewed the bids and had a really good discussion about the proposals that were submitted, and there was a lot of really good pieces to all of them, but in the end, based on the scores and the discussion that we had, I think we agreed that continuing with Legacy for our nursing services is the best option for us at this time.
Any questions?
Yeah, is
amongst the board?
there a version of this RFP scoring sheet where we see the individual categories?
That's
I'm a
my
little
question
confused
as
on
well.
the shape of it. I can see that the total is higher, but I don't see like a line where it says like basically the first 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 columns of the very thoughtful process are not populated in our form. So just curious.
The reason I
Yeah.
want to see it too is I can't see what we are prioritizing.
Yeah.
Like cost or fees are worth more than the experience providing school-based nursing. So like just kind of how things were kind of weighted by the evaluators.
Yeah, so of the criteria, so there's 5 different sections to Josh's question. The overall cost, the fee for services, the financial strength, stability, reputation of the organization, existing presence in Oregon and the region, and then all of those were weighted the same. The category that was weighted the highest was the ability to meet or exceed the performance requirements set forth in the RFP, and then the last column or the last criteria area was experience in providing nursing services in a K-12 setting. And as far as the scoring goes, I'm not sure about that. I know that in previous RFPs we've given sort of a summary, but I don't know that the individual scores are posted or exactly who can have access to what information.
When we did the Seismic grant, the recommendation from the attorney was to just post the scores like this.
The summary score.
The summary score anonymously. Yep. This is identical to how we did that process in the spring, or well, it was late winter, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it was December of 24, I believe, is when it was presented.
Yeah. And that was for the
Yeah.
Seismic project, but same type of process.
Sorry, not to belabor it, but obviously, you know, Legacy scored the highest. Are you able to unpack or provide any additional insight of why they were so much higher than the other competitors, or if there's any additional insight? I think that's kind of what the fellow board members are like. Why do you think at 82? And,
Why did they win?
I'm like,
Yeah, great question, and that feeds into directly connects to the weighted scoring as well. So I think for us, and for me as I was building this, you know, one of the priorities that we've identified is the ability to have on-call nursing coverage, and especially with significantly reduced nursing contract. Before, and for context, I guess from 23-24 to 24-25, we reduced our nursing contract by about 40%. And so with less bodies there, we were pretty thin. I thought we did a really good job of still providing a high level of services this year. But for us, just really not having any wiggle room, that ability to have that on-demand coverage is essential. And, that's something that was offered by a couple of the agencies as well. But, I think for us, having that dependability of having it be consistent people each time versus maybe pulling from a pool of people that could potentially be providing on-call coverage.
Yeah, an example of that would be one of the bidders, and I don't remember which one it was, said that they had a pool of like 1,500 nurses that served Marion and Polk and I don't remember which counties. There were several counties mentioned in there. And I was like, we have consistent people through Legacy that the kids get to know and they build a connection with, and, that parents trust. I think having that be like an on-call thing where you could get one of 1,500 people, I just was not comfortable with that.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Kim, because that was something I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
If some of our nurses are cross credentialed with multiple agencies, or if they're just Legacy stays with Legacy, because I know some of the nurses in our district. Went to high school with them, they're friends. And I know I don't like going to a different doctor. I don't want somebody I don't know giving me a shot like these kids have to do for diabetes. So I think continuity of care for the kids and stability is huge. I think it should be heavily weighted.
And that's what some of these wouldn't guarantee, as Brandon and Kim have commented. There would be somebody, but it wasn't guaranteed how far away they were,
Right.
or exactly who they were, other than they would be accredited.
Can you give an overview of what the services are they're providing?
Yeah, so last year we had 3, the overall kind of service model, big picture, is 3 to 4 nurses working 17 hours a day on student contact days. And so last year we had 2 nurses working 6.5 hour days, and 1 nurse that worked 4-hour days, kind of in the middle of the day, like the lunch rush, kind of the busy time of day. And they will, they wear a lot of hats. I mean, their primary responsibility is providing health services for students that cannot be delegated. They also do a lot with our high needs populations as well as consistent outreach and support with families for updating health plans and making sure that we're up to date with medications, training for office staff or classified staff to pick up some of the delegated services, as well as just being on call if they don't have another priority at the time to be able to provide some lower level, less essential services. And they're on call for, emergency situations or things that happen in other buildings across the district as well.
Thank you.
So what's the budget line item on this?
I think their bid was $330, Brandon, am I right?
No, that's what we had budgeted. So last year we budgeted, or the contract was for $300,000, and I think our final number ended up coming in at 296, maybe 296.5. So we were really close with that projection. And then the bid for Legacy was, I believe, 307.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's under budget, what we budgeted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe Kim budgeted 330.
That's probably where I
for
got the
next year.
330 from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for what's it worth, I like the evaluation process, and I like that we're on the budget, and I like that we have the local nurses that are able to be consistent. As my colleagues here mentioned, I think that's really important, especially for young, vulnerable students, to have that security of a healthcare provider increases confidence and openness of the students into situations that maybe are not related to why they're in there, but definitely can have an impact on their life on a long-term basis. So that's good.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And our partnership with them has been fantastic throughout the years. And in my time in Silver Falls, both legacy, the organization working with them, but then also the nurses on the ground that we've had. The service has just been fantastic. I mean, they essentially are treated and act like district employees. So it's been a great partnership.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions,
questions?
Brendan?
Yeah, just a great presentation, explanation. A couple of board members asked about having the individual scoring. Is that something that they could come in and look at, or maybe have them emailed to? Will legal be okay with that, just so any board member that wanted to see a little more detail? Was that something that's possible, or?
I would have
I
to,
can't.
yeah, I would have to ask, I don't know, legal recommended we not do it that way, so I'd have to find out why, Tom.
Yeah, I can see not broadcast it to the public, but
Yeah, I
for
can
someone
see,
coming in
yeah.
and looking,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I'm saying.
I think Brandon has.
I don't need to
those.
see it, I'm fine, but,
Yeah, Brandon has those.
okay.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have discussions with any board members if you guys have other questions, either about the RFP process or nursing services, or even the discussion that, when we were going through and scoring, because I mean, they are, pretty beefy proposals, but more than happy to discuss anything with you all.
Okay, thanks, Brendan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now we have the draft of our board activities and budget calendar, and along with this, we want to take a look at that and decide on also what time we'd like to have our board meetings. We've traditionally had them at 7. We change from time to time on occasion when something comes up that warrants it, but our tradition has been 7. But there was some talk towards the end of the last fiscal year about possibility of an earlier time to help out, especially with some of our staff that live further away and things like this, a 6:30 or another time. So this would be a good time to have that thrown in here too with our calendar.
I'll start off, so we're gonna start with the time.
Yeah, let's take care of the time.
I know that generally, and I think Daniel, you and I talked about this briefly last time, I've been the hang-up, just because I work till 6, but I'm willing to modify my schedule to get off a little earlier, or just come straight, just do it a little different. I'm willing to do 6:30.
Anybody else's thoughts on 6:30 or 7?
I'm okay with 6:30. I usually am done somewhere between 6 and 6:15.
Yeah.
I can grab a quick bite while I'm wrapping up my charts and
Eat a
Just come
sandwich
over
in
here.
front of everybody.
I mean, it's a couple times a month. It's not the end of the world.
If, for those of you with the work conflicts, I think, like Phil was saying, the 6:30, I think, our administrators got to be back early the next day, and obviously everybody else has to usually be at work. So if we can accommodate that, I think even that 30 minutes makes a pretty significant difference.
Makes a huge difference to me, sorry.
We can keep our comments to the minimum, so we give them another 20 minutes.
There you go.
We-
I'll tell you.
We have control.
Come 9 o'clock, I get pretty groggy, so.
Yeah.
So that sounds pretty unanimous, Chair.
Okay, and we'll just tie that in with the motion on the calendar. Does anybody, after they reviewed the draft, did anybody have any questions or concerns about the budget calendar?
Just real quick, just let me.
No, I appreciate starting earlier this year.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for a lot of us, yeah. It's nice that
If there is
we
no
can do that.
problems, you can see there we have a couple that hit, spring break and stuff like that, which we've traditionally not had. And then, of course, we have adjustments like we've had in the past. We've had a couple of work sessions that were last year that we had some open forum type things. And hopefully we'll have some things like that again. But this is it's kind of like a budget. It's where we start from.
Yep, things are rising.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say,
fluid.
I don't see any planning sessions, and I don't see budget camp either.
Oh,
Well, that can be a
Yeah,
work
it's a
session
whole
or
nother
something, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then on this draft along with the 6:30 start time.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the presented draft on our budget and board activities calendar with 6:30 start. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, passes. Okay. What do we got?
Guess we moved it
Back
up,
to
but
the
that's
agenda
okay.
here. Scotts Mills lot, Kim.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting thing. So, the PTA has graciously, raised enough money to put a new play structure in at Scotts Mills. And so they were working with Marion County on the permit process, and, they wanted to shift the location of it a little bit. And when they did that, it got into the buffer area between the two lots that we own. So we actually own 2 lots there. And so the play structure, it doesn't overlap onto the other lot, but it's in that buffer zone where you're not supposed to build anything. And because this is a covered play structure, it technically is like, it's a building kind of. It has a permit, it has a process. And so, and I don't know, my new board members probably don't know this, but I sold real estate in another life. And so Marion County wanted us to just remove the lot line and get rid of one of our lots, which is a hard no in real estate, because what it does is it just automatically, I mean, if you ever had to sell that property, the value of it is half because you have less lots. And so I'm like, well, we're not doing that. So we could do a lot line adjustment. I'm gonna go do some further, that would be my recommendations, do a lot line adjustment, move it 10 feet so that they're both still legal lots that can have dwellings on them. And then, you know, so that they stay two lots and not conjoin them. So I just wanted to make sure I had your blessing to go
Yep.
down to the county and kind of try to find another solution that isn't deleting one of our lots.
No, as I say, whatever solution, the least expensive, least trouble to carry off and still keeps us with 2 lots.
Jeff talked to them and he thinks the least expensive is the lot line adjustment
Yeah, that
and the
I would
least
think
amount of trouble.
Yeah.
So we'll try and pursue that, but it's probably gonna delay getting that
here.
covered play structure up, which
Close to
is
the
not
building.
great for kids.
Can they,
Yeah.
so they wanted to put the play structure closer to the lot line, was the reason, can they put it like 10 feet other, and then we don't have to do either of this, or what was the?
I tried that too, cause I thought that was.
Yeah.
I'm just going for simplest,
Yeah.
most
We go
efficient.
back that.
Yeah.
And they have some really specific reasons why they want to
Okay.
keep it over there, and it has to do with the basketball court, and there's some stuff.
Where
there.
is it they're placing it? In that ground?
It's kind of near, I should have brought a map. It's near kind of where the playground is now, but kind of near the basketball court.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
they're taking down the old one?
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole plan yet. I just wanted to make sure you knew that the lot thing, I
Yeah.
did not approve that,
Yeah.
and so.
Yeah.
So I guess when you do come back, if we can, just for us to be able to give good direction explanation, the reasoning for not keeping where it's at, like.
Yeah.
So that we have both, like, okay, if we were to keep it and not have to do the line adjustment, there's a good rationale for that. And then versus, okay, it is a significant enough reason to move it, thus the need for the lot assessment, just so we can explain why we're spending money and not just avoiding it altogether.
Right, and it's not, I mean, it's not really, I mean, it's not our money, I think they'll pay for it. But I think, you know, I've only known about this for a little over a week,
Okay.
and I asked Jeff for a map showing like where they originally wanted it and where they're moving it to, so I've asked for all that stuff, I just don't have it yet. So when I get it, I'll just send you guys an email with it, so you can kind of see where we're at, and then,
I'll
once
give
I have time to go down to the county, then.
Some historical context on this and doing all the previous bond effort and going through all of them. They have been asking for a covered play area for like 30 years and have been promised or wanted to get it and have not been able to. So this is a big deal to that.
They actually asked for my help a couple of years ago on this project. And where they were wanting to put it at that time, I haven't talked to them about it for a couple of years now, but there was a emergency entrance issue where they wanted to put it. And I think that may be why they're have to move it.
And there's leach fields maybe, I don't know
Yeah.
exactly where they got their stuff.
Yeah, I
so-
asked for a site plan,
Yeah.
so that we know where all those things
Yeah.
are, so.
But just historical context, this is a very big deal for
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
council.
we'll try and expedite it so we can get it.
Yeah, they've been fundraising for a while and they've been persevering, so.
Yeah,
good
it's
for
an
them.
expensive project,
Yep.
yeah.
for sure.
So kudos to them for
Yep.
building that for the kids.
Now, there's no action plan on this at all, there's just a discussion letting
No,
us know.
there's no.
No, I just
we-
wanted to
She just
alert you.
wanted to
Yep.
inform us.
Thank you.
In case you hear about it
Yeah.
in the, community.
Well, we've got no public here. Do we have anybody online to, about public comment, second one?
He's not answering. right now.
Okay.
He's gonna get back to me right now.
Okay. You're here as an employee, aren't you? Okay. Action items, okay. So, approve the, oh, we already did it.
You
Yeah,
do.
we already did
Yeah,
one.
that's
Yeah.
my bad.
No,
Took
you're
it out
all
of
right.
turn. Okay, well, we've
Debbie
done
keeps
that,
track.
so let's go ahead on to nursing.
Oh, where?
The RFP, approving legacy.
I'll do it. I move to approve the nursing RFP for the recommended Legacy Silverton Hospital nursing services for the upcoming school year.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve legacy for nursing services for the school district for the 24-26 school, 25-26 school year. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Nay. Okay, passes. Is there any future agenda item requests?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I request that we add the superintendent evaluation process discussion probably to the next board meeting so we can get an early start. I'll probably be sending some documents to my coworkers for the evaluation process.
Okay. Any others?